I got a lot of questions regarding how I started freelancing, how I got my gigs and things like that. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a bit about my experience and how I picked up the skills necessary to start freelancing in UI UX design specifically. So first I'll talk about my experience and how I started freelancing in UI UX design, and then subsequently I'll talk about where I found these gigs. So my experience as a UI UX designer. So right from the start, before UI UX design was even a thing to me, I studied information technology in Polytechnique. So that was really where I got exposed to creating interfaces, not just designing but even developing them. And I think that experience as a programmer definitely helped me a lot whenever I applied for different UI UX design things. So of course UI UX design is one thing, but there's always like good to have skills, and coding is always in the list of things that are good to have. But since I was designing interfaces and websites and all of that, I did have a Pinterest board where I would often just look at different designs and save my favorite designs to that board. And I think the years of compilation and looking at pretty aesthetic designs did help me a lot as a UI UX designer. But I think it wasn't until my first year in uni, or maybe slightly before entering uni, where I started to learn UI UX design skills, especially when it comes to software. So I did subscribe to the Adobe Creative Suite, and I knew that there's Adobe XD in there. So I thought, okay, why not make my money's worth and learn how to use this prototyping software? And that was where it all started for me. Adobe XD was something that I was using for a long time. I used to do a lot of self-assigned design exercises, and you can find a lot of these online. I'll put them in the description bar below. In fact, even in my Notion pack, I did compile some product design exercises in there, and I think that really helped me in starting my portfolio, which is the next point. Starting a portfolio is probably the first step in getting a UI UX design job, not even freelancing, but even an internship or a job. Really work on your portfolio first. So through these design exercises, I actually did Domino's mobile application. I redesigned Harper Kristen's website and just different things like that to practice UI UX design. And I think that paid off because somewhere in my first year as well, I went to a hackathon with some of my friends in school and we managed to win first place. It's all the hard work paying off. And of course, another thing that really helps is internships. So from whatever experience you've had so far as a self-taught UI UX designer, definitely do try your hand at applying for some internships. And after all that experience, I finally decided, okay, I have done work for other people. Now I want to be more of my own boss, even though not really, because being a freelancer, you're not exactly self-employed. You are working for a client, but it's very different. It's not like an employer-employee relationship. It becomes more like a partnership because you are employing my skills and I'm helping you and you're helping me. I kind of like that arrangement a lot more. So I guess this is where I can start talking about how I got my freelancer gigs, and I actually have it in my Notion template. So this page is how to find UI UX freelance gigs. So my first gig was actually on Fiverr, and I think one thing to note is if it's your first gig and you haven't had a lot of experience in UI UX design, don't expect to be paid too much. I mean, you can try if you're good at communicating, if your negotiation skills are really good, or maybe if your designs are really phenomenal, then you can try to price it a bit higher. But I found that by pricing lower, it got my foot in the door a lot quicker and a lot easier. Someone actually reached out to me on Fiverr to design a pet shop social media app. I think I was undercharged, but I was just so excited that I got that opportunity, so I just took it. Another thing when it comes to freelancing is sometimes the person that you're working with might not have worked with a freelancer before, so you get to communicate how you work and you get to choose your own terms and things like that. So for me, I knew that I had a workflow already. This was from past experiences and internships and just my own design work. So I think things to have in place before you start freelancing. Know your workflow, how you work, what's your process, how you're going to gather information from the client to make sure you're designing something that they actually want. Things you can ask for, things like design inspiration or key features, or if they have a navigation diagram, make sure you have your workflow, and that'll really help when you actually start freelancing. But besides Fiverr, there's so many freelancer websites out there. So there's Upwork, which I actually heard was really good, but it's so competitive competitive. That's another thing about these websites. You're up against some really good designers from places all over the world, so it might be a bit tough if you don't already have that credibility and that experience. There's freelancer.com, People Per Hour, Flying Bacon, Authentic Jobs, We Work Remotely, UX Jobs Board, Working Nomads, User Experience Professionals Association International Job Bank, Smashing Magazine Job Board, TopTel, and TopTel is interesting. So I think they're looking for mid-tier professionals. So I did try to apply to be a part of their UI UX design team. I got rejected. Here's that email. Working Not Working, Guru, Career Foundry, and of course the typical job boards like Indeed, Glints, Intern SG. But yeah, I think one thing about freelancing is to really put yourself out there, to almost camp at these sites and just really scout daily, if not every few days. Just look at these websites and see if there's any freelancer UI UX design job available. It's nothing magical. It's a lot of keeping your eye out for these opportunities online. And once you have your portfolio ready, as I mentioned previously, that's the first step. Have your portfolio ready, and then you apply. You might hear back from them, and that is where you enter the interview phase, where they figure out, okay, are you a good candidate to work with them and things like that. And that's when communication is everything. I think if you're someone who's a very good communicator, someone who can put across your thoughts clearly, someone who knows what you're doing, someone who has had experiences getting rejected and getting opportunities, I think all that comes into play when it's the interview phase. And that is really the defining moment to decide whether you are going to get a job or not. So now that I've talked about how I got started as well as where to find the gigs, I thought it'd be interesting and helpful to talk about how I actually got the gigs that I've gotten. So far, I was counting just now, I've had 6. As I mentioned previously, my first gig was found on Fiverr. So when it comes to Fiverr, it's quite easy to onboard. I put my Fiverr link down below if you're interested to see how I did it. But honestly, the payment, you can do it off of Fiverr, so it really depends on your client. I think Fiverr was just a really good place to connect to people who wanted to engage your services. And from that, I got $140+ for designing 20+ pages, as well as light and dark mode. So honestly, a bit undercharged, but it was my first gig, so I was really excited. My second gig was actually also on Fiverr. So it was to redesign the web page of an automobile company, but for this I charged $200. So I did the web page as well as a mobile optimized view of the web page. So that's that. And the third gig is really interesting. So I found it on Gumtree. I believe the website Gumtree closed down, so it's no longer available. But I think a few weeks or a few days before it closed down, I managed to see this UI UX design listing for a food and beverage company. So I was supposed to do up a WordPress website for them. And thankfully, beyond just design, I do have experience working with Wix and WordPress. So those are other skills you can definitely explore as a designer. I actually got to meet the boss in person, and he was so friendly. It's amazing, but he is very busy, so that's another thing that you kind of have to manage as a freelancer, being patient and professional while still making sure you get paid and all of that. So he actually engaged me in my next freelance gig, the fourth one, which is also for a food and beverage website. The website was actually already done, it's just that the design wasn't launched or published yet on Wix. So I think it was quite a hectic moment, and I think it was a bit crazy because they engaged a designer, but that designer kind of disappeared and vanished before the website got launched. So that was when he engaged me to launch the website and make changes to it as necessary. So from that, I got $500. And the fifth gig was actually found on glance.sg. So I think it's a local kind of freelancer portal. I actually managed to really quickly reach out to the person who listed that UI UX design job. They saw my portfolio and I think it was okay, and I was really stressed out before the call with them or the interview. I thought it would be an interview. I thought I'd have to kind of sell my services and fight to get that opportunity, but when I hopped onto the call with the guy, it seemed like they had already decided that they wanted to work with me. For this job, I'm getting 2.5K, which is absolutely insane because within the span of a month or less, I went from $140 to 2.5K. Like, that is so crazy to me. It is a much more complex project compared to the previous one, so of course I think it does make sense to be paid that much more. And finally, my last gig, I actually applied through LinkedIn, if I'm not wrong. In the interview itself, I think that was where I was really able to showcase my skills and articulate myself and talk about the designs I did and talk about previous interview experiences and the questions that were posed to me. And I think that was really what got me this job. job in particular. So collectively for this project, if all things go well, I'm getting 4.5k, about 1.5k a month, and I'm really excited for this one because it seems like the company is just such a great place, and I feel like I'll learn a lot from there, and I'll be given a lot of responsibilities, which I'm not adverse to. I think I really enjoy a challenge and working through these things, so I am very excited for that. In conclusion, I would say the first thing to work on is your portfolio, and make sure this portfolio showcases your skills, your experience, and all of that, be it hackathons, all the design exercises that you've kind of done on your own. Also, different skills that you can pick up, coding if you don't already know some, WordPress and Wix, and finally communication. Because you are your own boss and because you are your own brand, I think it's important to be professional and friendly and be able to communicate and negotiate and just look out for yourself and be kind in the process. And yeah, I guess that's all for this video. I just want to thank you guys for all the support, and if you have any other questions, please comment down below. I'm pretty sure I may have missed some things in this video, but this is a safe space for all of us learning together. Comment down below. Hopefully we can all help each other out. And I guess that's all for this video. Pray that you stay safe, happy, and healthy wherever you are. Bye!